Good evening, I'm Gary Davies.
And I'm Holly Johnson.
And tonight we're celebrating 40 years of the iconic Relax and 35 years of Blast.
So come with us on a journey that starts way back in October 1983.
Relax, don't do it when you want to go to it.
In 1984, Holly Johnson and Frankie Goes to Hollywood turned the world of pop upside down forever. 3 huge number one singles, a multi-platinum debut album, and the cultural phenomenon of the year. But the story begins 40 years ago this month with the release in October 1983 of their debut single, Yes, Relax is 40. So we're celebrating tonight with my special co-host Holly Johnson, and this is what's coming up. Holly and I will be chatting all things Frankie and all things Blast, and he'll be answering your questions too.
I'll also be playing you some of my personal favourite tracks from the decade, including my very own Bit in the Middle.
Can't wait to hear it. And we're going to get soppy on the soppy bit, aren't we, Holly?
Soppy indeed.
And you're playing some of your favourite songs. What's coming up next?
Ooh, from the legendary Dare album, The Human League with Love Action. It's my favourite track.
Holly Johnson playing a lot of his favourite songs on the show tonight. And if that's anything to go by, they're all going to be pretty fantastic. You must have met the Human League loads of times, have you?
A few times backstage. I think Phil has a magnificent voice, and that was just so ahead of its time, that record, when it came out. Brilliant. I love it.
And your next choice is also featuring somebody who you knew pretty well, P. Burns from Dead or Alive.
Oh, yes, I met him when I was 15. I think
Really?
he was 16 in town. He was Saturday boy at a cut above the rest hairdressing salon.
Really?
And
You met him at the hairdressers?
No, not at the hairdressers. During his lunch break, we had a little troll round town.
Yeah.
And he told me about himself, and he lived in Port Sunlight, and he had these amazing shoes on, sort of teddy boy winkle pickers with a very ornate buckle.
Yeah.
And everything about him was fabulous.
Did he have the eye patch then?
No. The eye patch was just a temporary thing later. No, but he looked amazing, and, before he had any work done, he was a good-looking young lad, and had a great look,
And was he singing at that time?
No. I mean, we talked about, that we love David Bowie and things like that, and he was at the same concert as me and Mark Almond and all the other northern singers that came up. But we talked about fashion and makeup and, all kinds of things. But music wasn't really on his agenda at that time, I don't think. It was on mine. Mm-hmm. I was, writing songs and playing acoustic guitar at that time with my friend Peter, who I went to school with.
Yeah.
But, he was a very striking person, even at the age of 16.
And when they had success, you still kept in touch?
Well, I think we became a bit competitive towards each other at that time. We'd still bumped into each other, and it was friendly and everything, but we weren't best buddies. He was more friendly with Paul Rutherford, the other gay member of Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'd been flatmates and things.
Well, clearly you didn't hold it against him, because Dead or Alive, one of your choices tonight?
Absolutely. This is a great record, and I think one of the better Stock Aitken and Waterman productions. It was all downhill from here.
One of Holly Johnson's faves, Dead or Alive, and You Spin Me Round. Thank you for getting in touch with us tonight. It's lovely when we hear from you. You got some shout-outs there, Holly?
I have. Hi, Gary and Holly, sitting playing cards in my Gary Davis t-shirt. Jim, Tracy and Katie Boo Roden.
Evening, Gary and Holly. Can't believe Relax is 40 years old. I was at college with Frankie's drummer's sister, and we were quite excited that you were doing so well. Looking forward to lots of good tunes tonight, say Sandra and Andrew in San Diego.
Hi, Gary and Holly. Can you say a shout out to Rob and Tina Matarek in Weston-super-Mare?
Hi. And Gary and Holly, oi oi, can you give Liam Rich a shout out, please? We're in our camper in Hereford with the dogs and a couple of beers. We love the show, thanks.
Can't wait to see you, Holly, at the Liverpool Philharmonic Hall 2 weeks from tonight. From Andy and Paula, travelling north on the M6.
Yes, you're on tour soon, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. David Rowland, we've had our listeners wanting to ask you lots of different questions, so we'll be firing a few of these at you throughout the night. That's
exciting,
okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
David Rowland said, I hope you fully comprehend how much of an impact Relax had on so many young people born in the 70s. From first-hand experience, you had a phenomenally positive influence on so many young secondary school kids in the mid-80s. You helped us be loud and proud, not filled with doubt and shame. We love you, Holly. Thank you.
Oh.
Were you aware of this at the time?
Not totally, although when I was at school, I had David Bowie's lead. It was when he claimed he was bisexual, and it was very comforting. Such a luminous character was identifying as gay. So yeah, I was kind of aware of it, but didn't think that I would have the similar effect.
Clearly you did.
Oh, well, that's nice.
So when I first heard Relax, I loved it, and I remember making my record of the week on Radio 1.
Wow.
You're welcome. How did you feel when, just as the song was gaining traction, because it took a while, Mike Reid and the BBC then banned it. Were you delighted they banned it? Probably in hindsight you were, but at the time were you delighted, or you think, oh no, it's all going to go wrong?
I kind of felt like that. It was a bit depressing for me. I wanted my moment with a number one record on Top of the Pops, which, you know, was denied us. But the record company were thrilled, of course, and it gave us a kind of rebelliousness aura. And but it also made everything that we did the scrutiny for something controversial in everything, and so there were good and bad things about it, really.
Did you set out to be controversial?
Not particularly. It wasn't in my master plan, although the way we dressed on stage, that was designed to scare the horses a little bit.
Yeah.
I must admit that. But, you know, the PR machine sort of grabbed it and ran with it. You know, these 5 Liverpool people who I remember being described as ferociously homosexual. If you please. But there you go.
By the way, there's nothing wrong with being ferociously homosexual.
No, we're not laughing at that, but it's just a funny concept.
Yeah. David Clement says, Frankie was ZTT's first signing. How did Trevor Horn get to hear about you and then shape the iconic Frankie sound?
Well, Trevor Horn was in the studio with Yes, and they were watching The Tube, the Tyne-Tees TV show,
yeah.
And we were miming, I think, to a demo of Relax in the State Ballroom in Liverpool that they'd agreed to film in the first series for The Tube. And
wow.
And Trevor was like, oh, I could make a hit out of that song. And he then forgot about us. And again, later we got a Kid Jensen session after we'd done a John Peel session, and we did another version of Relax, and he heard it in his car when he was on his way home from the studio. And Bob's your uncle got in touch with us through our manager Bob Johnson at the time and signed us to ZTT.
How different is the version that you released, that he produced, to the demo version that you originally performed?
Well, it was technologically a lot more advanced than our drums, bass, guitar, vocal version was. Obviously, he had lots of amazing equipment like a Fairlight sampling synthesizer, and he had technical expertise and musical taste and experience, so he tarted it up somewhat, let's say, but it was still the same basic song that we'd written back in Liverpool.
He tarts things up really well, does our Trevor.
Well, that's his job, isn't it?
So, Relax, an absolutely epic single. I mean, how do you follow that? Well, you follow it with this.
When you hear the air attack.
Oh, what a tune!
It's amazing, isn't
It still sounds fresh. It still sounds relevant. I mean, amazing. Number one in the UK for 9 weeks over the summer of 1984. What was the inspiration for this song?
Well, it was the political sort of freeze of the Cold War, and also the Falkland Islands.
Falkland Islands, yeah.
The whole Margaret Thatcher, and it was a very scary atmosphere for a young man in Liverpool, living in Liverpool 8 in 1982, I think.
Yeah.
About that time when, it was just a bit scary.
Got a message saying, "Hi Gary and Holly. Sitting listening live for the first time. Usually I listen on BBC Sounds and loving the song so far. Holly, my dad used to play me your songs growing up, and Two Tribes is still one of my favourite ever songs," says Emily, ferocious homosexual. She's written here.
Oh, well, it's a 60-piece orchestra that's seducing you into liking that song, as well as all the bangs and whistles and thundering bass line. It is a great track. It always impresses me when I hear it again.
But Trevor Horn didn't want this as your next single.
No, he wanted us to, or me to try and sing Slave to the Rhythm.
Wow.
He gave me the demo to learn, and it was a much different Slave to the Rhythm that Grace Jones performed later. It was a kind of hard rock slave to the rhythm. It wasn't as nice as the Grace Jones version, and I was saying, "Oh no, Trevor, let's do Two Tribes. It's a great track. It'll be a winner." And he listened.
Number one for 9 weeks. Good job he listened.
Yeah.
So you had two of the year's biggest hits under your belts. Anticipation for the album Welcome to the Pleasure Dome was so high. Pre-sales of 1 million copies?
Yeah, I believe so.
I mean, you must have felt on top of the world at that time.
And
What was life like then?
Well, we were still only on 40 quid a week.
What?
Yeah. I mean, people thought we were millionaires back in Liverpool, but, that was far from the case. It was exciting, and I ordered about 25 boxes of the album to come from Island Records, who were distributing the ZTT label.
Yeah.
And signed quite a few of them and gave them to Wolfgang, my partner, who's still my partner.
Yeah.
Hello, if you're listening.
How's he doing?
He's okay, yeah. He's had a few issues like we always do in life, but he's chugging along.
Sending you our best wishes, Wolfgang.
Yeah, and Punky, the little Pomchi dog from Battersea Dogs Home.
I love your little Punky.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's lovely. So, where was I? I signed a load of albums and said, Wolfgang, go and flog these and get your fare to New York and come and see us when we play the Ritz.
Wow.
Which people didn't believe that he had, signed copies of the album in boxes.
So finally you made a few quid.
Well, I don't know. I saved up my per diems on tour and paid for his ticket on that airline that was new at the time.
I think I know the one you mean. Welcome to the Pleasure Dome. It's one of the 80s most defining albums, and we'll play a track from it. Well, we'll play the title track next. Is it you doing the welcome?
Of course, but slowed down.
Yeah.
That's it, it is me.
Can you do it?
Welcome. Slow that down a bit and...
Yeah. Amazing song. Title track, single number 4 from Welcome to the Pleasure Dome, reached number 2 in April 1985. Now, your first 3 singles all went to number 1.
That's right, but the
And
album...
this one went to number 2.
Yeah, but the album had been out 6 months.
True.
Yeah, and everyone had the ultimate version on the album.
So you weren't upset about that?
Not really. I mean, the album went to number 1, so we had 4 number 1s in 1984. You can't get better than that, really.
Anything you want to say to Phil Collins and Philip Bailey for keeping you off the top slot?
No, I love Phil. I don't know who Phil Bailey is, sorry.
He's the guy who was singing the song with Phil Collins.
Oh, okay.
Easy Lover. He was in Earth, Wind and Fire.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a big fan of Earth, Wind and Fire and Phil Collins, so no. I mean, Phil was in Genesis when I was a teenager, and what a great singer and
amazing.
Hard-working man. You know.
Absolutely. Patrick Wilcox says, Welcome to the Pleasure Dome is an amazing single and such an iconic album. Where did the idea for the title come from?
That's an interesting thing. I think I saw something on a Mary Wilson record. Mary Wilson live from the Pleasure Dome, something like that.
Yeah.
And also there's a poem in Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately Pleasure Dome decree, blah de blah de blah. It'll come to me who wrote it any minute, but my mind's gone blank.
Don't worry about
as it does.
Where did the name for the band come from?
That came from a book called Rock Dreams. A painter called Guy Pilar, who'd also done David Bowie's Diamond Dogs record cover, did a book called Rock Dreams, and a page of it fell out and someone stuck it on the wall of a rehearsal room in a place called The Pink. And it was a sort of cartoony painting of a newspaper front page, and it had a picture of Frank Sinatra getting off a plane, and the headline, Frankie Goes Hollywood, and he's being mobbed by teeny boppers, or whatever they called them in those days. And that was it, really.
Brilliant. So, from named after Frank Sinatra?
Well, sort of. And named after this painting, and that was an earlier version of Frankie Goes to Hollywood. I formed another band later on looking for a name. It was Frankie Goes to Hollywood was published in Rock Family Trees and Sounds magazine, and it sort of popped out while we were reading the newspaper, and that's what we'll call ourselves.
Whose idea was it to do the Frankie Say T-shirts and the slogans?
They were in a cupboard in the record company, and they couldn't give them away as promotional items. And we had to go on tour. So we said, oh, can we have these T-shirts, please? We'll buy the idea off you. For 150 quid, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it was okay, and there you go. We sold T-shirts. It paid for the tour, actually. Kept us afloat, because we were still only on 40 quid a week.
Brilliant. I love it. Great story. Okay, another of your favourite songs now from Sharon Red. Do you want to introduce it and tell us why?
Oh, I just love Sharon Red. She came and did a PA at Jodie's gay club in Liverpool, next door to the Lisbon. And she was just so lovely to everyone, and she sang until she was hoarse. You know, she had so many encores. Yeah. And I love Beat the Streets, and I love In the Name of Love, which this is.
Sharon Red, In the Name of Love. Such a brilliant performer, Holly.
Oh, fabulous. She used to be with Bette Midler and the Harlettes.
Oh, really?
At one time, yeah.
Ah, okay. What was I going to ask you? Oh, we got some shout-outs here, haven't we?
Oh, we have.
Yeah.
Good evening. Ooh, Gary and Holly. Carolina David here, listening to your brilliant show in Lisbon, Portugal. The 80s was such a brilliant music era. Frankie Goes to Hollywood was such a pivotal part of that. Thanks for all the great memories.
Nice. Hey, you, Gary and Holly. What a special show to tune into tonight. My late father, Darren, was a huge fan of Frankie, and Relax was his go-to karaoke song. We saw Holly at Rewind last year in Henley, and request Relax at every party we go to in Dad's memory. The song always cheers me up so much. We played at our recent wedding to fill the dance floor too. Holly, you're amazing. Love your show, Gary, from Lauren and new husband, Matt, and all of Lauren's brothers. Isn't that nice?
Oh, bless.
And Sarah in Hertfordshire said, from the first moment I heard that on Relax on Top of the Pops, I was... Sorry, I don't do it as well as you do. I was hooked. 2 Tribes at full volume in the car is a good place to be.
Amazing.
Got another one?
Hi, Gary and Holly. We are on the Amalfi Coast, listening to the great tunes as they always... having a boogie on our roof terrace. Great to have you here with us. Say hi to Julian Paz. Lots of love, Lisa and Steve.
Gary and Holly, loving listening from our balcony in Cyprus tonight. Big shout out to our friends Emma and Dave listening in Halifax. From Pete, Helen and Mum Judy and Dad Graham. When did you realise you could sing?
Oh, I didn't really. I was always told I wasn't a great singer, but then I was in the choir at St Mary's Church, Wavertree, and that's when I got into singing, really.
Yeah. And we were talking a little bit earlier how David Bowie has really played a big influence in your career.
Oh, absolutely. Mark Bolan first,
Yeah.
T-Rex.
Love.
And then David Bowie with his amazing songs. Electric Warrior, then Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars was the first 2 albums that really inspired me, and from that moment I wanted to be a singer and write songs and be in a band.
And we're going to play David Bowie right now, one of your favourites, Ashes to Ashes. Why this particular one?
Oh, well, Scary Monsters, the album that it's from, is a great album and a great way to start the decade. Ashes to Ashes, Funk to Funky. Who knew Major Tom was a junkie? You know, it was just so great.
Holly Johnson, my co-host tonight, picking a lot of his favourite songs, and that's David Bowie and Ashes to Ashes. Okay, I think we're going to cause a little bit of controversy here, if that's all right with you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Hello, Gary and Holly. David in the Shed in Southend-on-Sea here. Welcome to Pleasure Dome, one of my favourite albums, and I prefer the Frankie's version of Born to Run to the original. And John from Bromsgrove said the cover of Born to Run is better than the original. Still think so. And Chris Barker in Dorset says, much to my wife Angie's annoyance, I prefer Frankie's version of Born to Run to the original Bruce Springsteen version. Whose idea was it to cover the song?
Well, it wasn't mine.
Really?
Although I did love Bruce. Bruce is a god, and, you know, that's a great song. But I was surprised to come into the studio one day, and the band were all set up and playing it live, and it sounded great. It sounded like the punk rock version of Born to Run. So I had to sing it straight away.
So the band came up with the idea?
I'm not sure, actually, who came up with the idea, but I was just said, you're doing Born to Run, and I said, oh, well, I better sing it well then, because, you know, it's a classic.
Cindy Davis said, so stoked that you two are co-hosting Sounds of the 80s. I first discovered Frankie Goes to Hollywood when they appeared on Saturday Night Live in 1984 and performed a brilliant cover of Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run.
That is correct. Saturday Night Live to 40 million people in New York, Rockefeller Center.
I mean, that's when you know you made it, isn't it?
Well, we didn't realise how big it was because, you know, we didn't know about Saturday Night Live coming from Liverpool.
Yeah.
But, you know, afterwards we were told, and we were introduced by George Carlin, that legendary comedian, which was an honour, really, and met Billy Crystal and people like that.
Cindy said, it got me wondering, is there any song from the 80s or any other era that you wish you'd written or would love to record your own version of?
Ooh. There are a few, and I'm working on a project,
Okay.
so I can't reveal anything.
Okay, that's an interesting little clue. We better play Born to Run. Frankie Goes to Hollywood and Born to Run. Another of your faves coming up.
Oh, well, it's not my favourite Kraftwerk song, but it was a big hit in the 80s for them.
Yeah.
So I thought everyone will know this one.
Thank you. We'll play it.
Fabulous.
What's it called?
The Model.
She's a model and she's looking good.
Sounds of the 80s. Celebrating 40 years of Relax, and I'm with you to the very end.
If you're waiting for Holly's bit in the middle, that's going to come out in the next hour of the show. And also in the next hour, we're going to be celebrating 35 years of Blast. And those celebrations kick off straight after the news.
You can be what you wanna be.
Solo Holly Johnson and Americanos. Reached number 4, the second single from your debut solo album, Blast.
Yes, that's right.
And it's celebrating 35 years.
Well, it'll be 35 years next year, and we're doing a special red vinyl limited edition and a red cassette, which was out yesterday.
Ooh.
So it's very exciting if you like red vinyl.
And you're wearing a Blast t-shirt.
Oh, yes, that's all part of the bundle from hollyjohnson.com.
What else are you flogging on there?
All kinds of things. Tote bags, different T-shirts, Relax Blast T-shirts, all kinds.
Right.
If you have a look at the store on hollyjohnson.com.
Okay, we charge 10% commission, don't we, Johnny California?
You're welcome to it.
Jennifer Milne says Americanos is still one of my all-time favourite songs. And somebody somewhere, we can't find the message, asked blue jeans or chinos?
I'm more of a blue jeans
Really?
person, yeah. Or black jeans very often.
Yeah. Hi, Gary and Holly. Just to say that Blast is in my top 3 albums of the 80s. It's absolutely awesome, and I still play it loads. I was in the audience when Holly appeared on Pop Quiz in 1984.
Wow.
I met him outside BBC TV Theatre. What a sweetheart. By the way, he's still a sweetheart. Went to my first gay club in Glasgow last weekend and had the best time. Keep on
Amazing.
being awesome. Love from Joe in Portree in the Isle of Skye.
Oh, thanks, Joe.
Now then, a little bit later than advertised and scheduled, it is time for...
BBC Radio 2, Holly's Bit in the Middle.
Amazing track, this. Why have you chosen this?
Oh, well, it's just a classic, and not a whole lot of people know about it, but it's the blueprint for house music, in my opinion. And it's so hopeful and beautiful and soulful. Joe Smooth, Promised Land.
It's Holly's Bit in the Middle. Still as relevant today as it was back in the 80s. Joe Smooth and Promised Land. Love that. Absolutely love that.
Yeah.
A few more Ask Holly questions, if that's all right with you.
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, Paul Edwards in Norwich said, that Frankie Goes to Hollywood computer game, what was that about? He said, I loved it, by the way, on my ZX Spectrum. Did you have much involvement in the development of it?
No, I didn't, but it was designed, I think, in Liverpool.
Yeah.
But that's all I know about it. I didn't have a Spectrum or a Commodore computer to play it on. Someone I knew did, and I know that you had to get to the Pleasure Dome, and that was really difficult. But I've seen it since, like run-throughs on YouTube, and it was a great game, and it's considered an 8-bit classic, I think, now.
So you never managed to get to the Pleasure Dome?
I didn't personally, no. Only in my imagination, Gary.
Craig Langley says, what did Holly enjoy most about the Eurovision reunion and performance? I thought it was amazing, and it was like the boys had never been apart. A Frankie tour would be incredible. How was it getting back together again after so long?
Well, when it actually happened, it was lovely, you know, very cordial. everyone was up for it, and it was nice to see each other. The preamble was tortuous. The amount of emails from the record company, the production company, the BBC, it was just endless in the 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
But it was wonderful to be in Liverpool, as it always is, and in front of a Liverpool audience. Shame we only had one song, and the BBC chose Welcome to the Pleasure Dome.
Shame you couldn't do like a sneaky little gig in a club around the corner or something.
I wish, but I think the Lightning Seeds had all the clubs booked out that weekend. That would have been great, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Did you have to do a lot of rehearsal, or was it like, instant, you just knew everybody was together again and like it always was?
Well, it's the version of Welcome to the Pleasure Dome that I do live
Right.
on this current tour that I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah.
And so they all had to learn my version, which was the soundtrack of the video.
Yeah.
I'm performing the video version.
Yeah.
So I knew what I was doing. But everyone else was a bit thrown and wasn't sure where to come in and things.
Yeah.
But
it looked fantastic.
Yeah, it was great to do. It was like a big relief for everyone, I think.
A tour?
Well, you never know. Never say never again, Gary.
Tony Green in Pulborough says, I really enjoyed your 1994 autobiography, A Bone in My Flute. It's been long out of print. Obviously, a lot more has happened in the nearly 30 years since. Any plans for a follow-up memoir?
When I get the time, I'd be happy to do that. But, it would start off in quite a dark period of my life, and I'm a bit sort of trepidatious about dealing with that. But, one day I'll get round to it, I hope, and hope I have, lived long enough to write it.
Well, we all do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just don't go anywhere, all right?
No, I'm not going anywhere.
Okay. So Spring 89 saw the release of your debut solo album, Blast, largely written by you, straight in at number one, platinum sales, but it did come after a hugely stressful time for you, didn't it?
It did. It came after a long-winded court case with ZTT and Perfect Songs, who took me to the High Court, and I won, and I won the appeal when I was working with Dan Hartman on Atomic City and other album tracks. He helped me put together a whole load of ideas that I had for a song. So gets a co-write on Atomic City, and it was so much fun working with him. I'd worked with Stephen Hague and Steve Lovell and Andy Richards, who were old friends, but Dan was something new to me. He was a real American hustler and brilliantly musical and great to work with.
Well, here's the song, Atomic City. Holly Johnson and Atomic City. So, as we mentioned, produced by Dan Hartman.
Absolutely.
An amazing guy. I met him a number of times in the 80s. Such a lovely bloke. You're saying he was very driven.
Oh, he was. He was hustling the next gig on the telephone while he was producing you. I think he was on the phone to Tina Turner's manager and going to do Simply the Best.
Yeah.
That was his next gig.
Was he fun to work with?
He was great fun, had loads of energy. I mixed Atomic City in the Hip Factory in New York with him.
Yeah.
And stayed at his house in Connecticut, and he was very hospitable and just lovely.
Do you know U2 just released a single called Atomic City?
No, isn't that a strange coincidence?
There you go. Probably inspired by you, Holly.
Indeed.
Dan Hartman, absolute genius. I think we should play one of his classic disco tracks.
Oh.
How about this one from Lolita Holloway?
Oh, fantastic.
And Love Sensation.
Famously sampled.
Famously sampled by Black Box. We'll talk more about that after we hear the song.
Okay.
Produced by Dan Hartman, who we were just talking about, who also produced tracks for Holly on Blast. What did Dan think when Black Box sampled the heck out of that song?
Well, he was right in there with his publishing company saying 30%, please. Did really well.
So he wasn't bothered the way that they chopped it up, and
He felt sorry for Lolita, who, for the recording aspect, didn't get anything because the sample belonged to a record company that she was unrecouped with, unfortunately. But I think he saw it all right and paid her to come and do another session for Keep the Fires Burning, one of his last singles.
Yeah.
He was a lovely man.
Lovely man indeed. Nick George in Surrey says, I queued to get tickets for Frankie Goes to Hollywood's gig at Hammersmith Apollo in spring 1985. He said, the atmosphere on the night was electric. I wondered if Holly had any special memories of that gig, or what are your favourite gigs from back in the day? Any stand out more than any others?
Well, Hammersmith Odeon was a fantastic night. We did 2 nights, I think, and we did a live satellite cast of Relax for Japan during one of the shows, I remember. A strange 70s pop star came and flashed me in the dressing room. Who shall be nameless.
Oh, come on, Holly!
And, did George Michael get up and sing Relax? Backing vocals? I'm not quite sure. It was all a bit of a blur.
Wow. But do you have one gig that was your favourite?
The RDS in Dublin. Oh, the Irish. It was the first show of the 1985 tour, and the audience reception was fantastic. Dublin is the last gig of my tour coming up now.
Really? We're going to tell everybody the dates in a few minutes.
I'm just panicking in case we don't get them in.
Don't worry. You get all your plugs. You can plug anything you want. We've done the merchandise.
I've got to do the tour.
We've done the merchandise. We've done the vinyl. We've done the cassette. We'll do the tour.
Yes, the tour's coming.
All right. Now, listen, we've had 3 from Welcome to the Pleasure Dome. But let's turn a light on the follow-up album, 1986's Liverpool. Great title, by the way. What was it like recording that album? Because I guess you would have been under tremendous pressure at that time.
Oh, well, it was a bit grim. We were in a place called Bussum, which was a lovely village outside of Amsterdam.
Right.
And it was very dark and the coldest winter in years. All the canals froze over and... my then boyfriend, now my civil partner, Wolfgang, was ill in hospital, and I was visiting him every day and going in the studio in the afternoon, and no one kind of understood what was going on with Wolfgang, and there was a bit of friction because I always disappeared to the hospital, and they were all working late into the night, and I wanted to go home and sleep. So it was a very strange world recording the Liverpool
Was that
album.
sort of the beginning of the end?
Well, it was the beginning of the darkness. That's what I say. A darkness descended on Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Well,
there were lots of different reasons that I can't go into, really.
Well, at least the album I absolutely loved, and we're going to play one of our favourites from it right now.
What a wasteland.
Opening track and single number 2 from Liverpool, Frankie Goes to Hollywood and Warriors of the Wasteland. Claire in Warrington said, Liverpool is still my favourite album of all time. Frankie Goes to Hollywood was the first band I went to see at 12 years of age in Manchester with my best friend Sam, taken by my very cool sister Bev. And I'm seeing Holly next month at the Philharmonic in Liverpool, and I can't wait.
Amazing. It's a great song, isn't it, Warriors?
It is.
I always start the show with it.
Yeah,
giving away secrets.
It's really good. The one thing I've noticed, Holly, is we're playing a lot of Frankie Goes to Hollywood songs, and you have got your headphones on and you're really listening to them. I guess you haven't actually listened to them for probably a long time.
No, I don't listen to myself, and it's worse watching myself, but I don't listen to myself that often, and I should do it more, I think.
How they sounding? They still sound fresh, don't they?
Sound great.
Yeah.
Especially on these headphones. I'll have to get some.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Another of your favourite songs. You've been choosing your favourite songs tonight. We've got one from Erasure now. Why
Yes.
this one?
Well, don't you just love Andy Bell?
Yes.
And Vince Clarke is a genius. So,
Do you know the guys?
I don't really know them, but I hear they're lovely.
Yeah.
This one wasn't a big hit at first, except in France, and I think it's one of their best tunes. That and Ooh, Sometimes, that one.
Yeah.
But I love Oh L'Amour. It's so glorious and fun to listen to and catchy as hell.
So we were just chatting. So Dollar actually had the hit with this in the 80s, and Erasure only had a hit with it in 2003 when they remixed it, I believe.
Yeah, it was a hit in France.
Yeah. Oh, what?
Oh L'Amour.
Yeah, that makes sense. Some more messages coming in. Liverpool is still my favourite album of all time. Frankie Goes to Hollywood was the first band I went to see at 12 years of age in Manchester with my best friend Sam. Taken by my very cool sister Bev. I've done this one, haven't I? That from Claire in Warrington. Well, I'll do it twice anyway. Hi, I'm Holly and Gary. No. Hi, Holly and Gary. Such a fantastic show. Fair to say, Holly releasing Love Train changed my life. I listened to it every single day for over a year, and as a result of searching for Frankie stuff on 80s compilations, developed an obsession with 80s music and Frankie that has influenced every aspect of my life. Even my son is called Frankie. Can't wait to see it at the Palladium and in Brighton. That's from Jill in Brighton.
Wow.
Claire says, Blast reminds me of peak teenage years, braces on my teeth, posters of Holly on the wall, and being annoyed you were just below Jason Donovan in the Smash Hits Most Fanciable Male category.
Oh, but what great company. The gorgeous Jason.
I'm so excited to see you on tour. How did you decide which songs to play on the tour?
Oh, it was difficult. I passed the job on to Vince, the musical director,
Right.
and made a few suggestions, I think.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do. What David Bowie once rang me up and asked me what songs he should sing on his next tour.
Are you
Can you
serious?
believe that? It's the truth.
What?
I know.
Wow.
But that shows you it's a really hard job. If he's ringing me up,
Yeah.
it must be difficult.
And which songs did you tell him to sing?
Well, Teenage Wildlife was one of them from
Yeah.
the Scary Monsters album.
Yeah.
I never meant to tell that story.
Well, I'm glad you did.
Oh, there you go.
So did you know him quite well?
Well, no, he rang me up one night, and I did meet him a couple of times. But, it was like getting a phone call from God.
How did he get your number?
We had a mutual friend
Ah.
who was in the art business, who put on both of our exhibitions, one year his and then next year mine.
Okay.
So there you go.
Loving the show. Holly Johnson, great guest. What a talented man. Listening to Americano, soundtrack in my 20s. Sounds as fresh today as it did when released. Holly's choice of music is right up my street. Looking for tickets to go see him, says Louise in Sheffield. So you have been touring. You've been touring Europe. And you've been going down a storm, I'm seeing.
Well, we've done Amsterdam, Den Haag and Brussels,
Yeah.
which were amazing. And there's a little break now before I do Glasgow.
Yeah, you do Glasgow's Pavilion Theatre on the 19th of October, and then Liverpool, Birmingham, Gateshead, London, Brighton, Belfast and the Isle of Man.
And I think we end in Dublin.
Wow, okay. Yeah, and so what can we expect? It's basically the best of Frankie and the best of you solo, is it?
Basically, yeah. A few more tracks from Blast because it's the 35th anniversary
Yeah.
to coincide with the red vinyl version that we've released and red cassette. And all the Frankie hits, including mine, Love Train, Americanos, Heaven's Here. We get them all in.
Amazing. Go to hollyjohnson.com for tickets and more details about everything else. Fantastic stuff available on that website. Just check it out. hollyjohnson.com.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And here is your debut single from Blast. Holly Johnson solo and Love Train. Out of all the songs you've done, do you have a favourite?
Well, I love Love Train, actually. Stoke it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that. I suppose it is The Power of Love.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an evergreen that will probably last longer than I will. You know, I think it's got a life of its own, that song, and people keep doing it, which I hate because I want to hear my version or, you know, the Frankie version. Please don't do it.
Don't cover this song. Well, you get good royalties, though.
Oh, I know, but it's, you know, it's not all about the money. Our version is the best.
Well, I agree.
Don't
I agree with you.
don't mess with perfection.
I wonder whether we can fit it in before the end of the show. Back to another of your favourite songs. This one from Divine.
Oh, Divine.
And Love Reaction. Why this?
Divine was, you know, a goddess creation, and I saw Divine perform at the Hacienda and once in Amsterdam, and, you know, the films of John Waters, Female Trouble. What a talent, and who left us much too soon.
Do you get a feeling, Holly, that Divine was listening to New Order at some point?
I think Bobby O, his producer, was, or her producer, and basically just ripped them off and got Divine to go Love Reaction.
It's a brilliant song.
It, you know, Blue Monday was great, wasn't it? What a classic. But, you know, anything with Divine. And now we have Moments in Love by The Art of Noise as a bed.
Yes, as a bed for our soppy bit.
Quite inspirational, this song, to me, I remember.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I think I can sing the first bit of The Power of Love over it. Is that how I wrote it? I can't remember.
Go on then.
Dreams are like angels, they keep at bay. Something like that. Is that how it goes?
You still got it, Holly. Helen from Barrow upon Humber said, can you please wish my wife, Debbie, a very happy birthday. Currently sat in the hot tub with a bottle of fizz, introducing her to sounds of the 80s. I usually listen alone at work. Hang on a second. I know somebody has got something to say about that. You got one?
Oh, who was that?
That's Denise Pearson from 5 Star. Every time we have a new listener to Sounds of the 80s, she gets very excited. Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah. You got a shout out?
A shout out? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
Hi, Gary and Holly. Loving the show. Please, could you say happy birthday to my lovely husband, Michael Kelly? He's a massive Frankie Goes to Hollywood fan, and we can't wait to see Holly on tour when he comes to Belfast. Many, many thanks if you can mention this. Love, Tricia.
Gary and Holly give a shout out to my gorgeous wife, Tracy Jackson, who's not too well at present. We plan to spend the weekend in our caravan visiting my sister Linda and her husband Patrick, helping them knock down a wall in their house in Hampshire. I came alone and I'm missing Tracy loads. Tell her I love and miss her. And I'm back tomorrow. From loving husband Keith, we listen every week and we love the show.
Aww.
Isn't that nice? Craig Radford is in Wolverhampton. Hello.
Hello, Gary.
Say hi to Holly.
Hello, Craig.
Hi, Holly. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks.
Who's this song request for, Craig?
It's for my wonderful and beautiful wife, Dawn. It was our 5th wedding anniversary yesterday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. She's a massive Frankie Goes to Hollywood fan, if probably not the biggest. She introduced me to him back in the late 80s when I would listen to the likes of Prince and bits and bobs like that.
I like the sound of Dawn.
Yeah, and I haven't turned back since.
So how did you and Dawn get together and where?
Well, we've been friends. She moved around the corner from me back in 1987, and we've been best mates since then.
Yeah.
We met for an annual catch-up about 10 years ago and took the gamble of best mates getting together.
Wow. Had you always wanted to be together, both of you, but never really got around to asking each other?
It was a question of timing. That's all it was.
Really?
But 10 years ago it worked. We got married in 2018 and we're still having the time of our lives. It's great.
Oh, that's fantastic. Brilliant. And where are you at the moment?
We're in the caravan, Adfer in Powys.
Brilliant. What do you want to say to Dawn, Craig?
just that I love her loads, and life wouldn't be the same without her.
Oh,
Isn't that nice?
that's the kind of soppy bit I like.
Yeah.
Lovely, Dawn. I hope you're feeling wonderful and not making too much noise in that caravan.
I bet they are. If only there was a song that we could play for you. Do you have one in mind?
Oh, well, considering we're that much in love, and love's a very powerful thing, I think the power of love would be amazing, Gary.
Oh, fantastic.
What do you reckon, Holly? You think that's all right?
Oh, I think that's perfect for Dawn and Craig from Wolverhampton in Adfa, Mid Wales.
I'll protect you from the hooded claw.
Steve Pilkington asks, once and for all, is Power of Love a Christmas song?
Well, it's not just for Christmas, it's for life.
Good answer. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. And that's it. Thank you to my very special Sounds of the 80s co-host, Holly Johnson.
Good night, everybody.